Hi, it's me. It's reading number 3. We talked about September, October, November, December. We read about Jack's journey with poetry in his journal. Now we're going to start with January and see how things go for Jack. One thing I want you to remember is all of a sudden he started talking about his yellow dog. That was the last thing we read. January 10th. I really, really, really did not get the pasture poem you read today. I mean, somebody's going out to the pasture to clean the spring and to get the little tottery calf. While he's out there and he isn't going to be gone alone, he wants you. Who is you? To come too. I mean, really. And you said that Mr. Robert Frost, who wrote about the pasture, was also the one who wrote about the snowy woods. Remember the snowy wood poem? And the miles to go before he sleeps. Well, I think Mr. Robert Frost has a little too much time on his hands. Let's take a look at the pasture poem. Hold on. Oh, Mrs. O'Brien. Here's the pasture poem, again written by Robert Frost. I'll read it and you can follow along. The Pasture by Robert Frost. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away and wait to watch the water clear I may. I shan't be gone long, you come too. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. It's so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long, you come too. Well, you can see some of the things that that Jack talked about in his journal entry about the pasture and the spring and about the calf. When I was reading this poem, like, remember what I said? Sometimes I'm not really sure what the meaning of a word is. Well, wasn't real sure what they meant by tottery. Do you know what tottery means? So I looked it up in my dictionary right here. It's in the T's. Okay. I looked it up and it means kind of like unstable or wobbly. So the calf was a little bit unsure about standing real still in the poem. So that was a kind of interesting word. Now we're going to continue reading. January, hold on, 17th. Remember the wheelbarrow poem you read for the first week of school? Maybe the wheelbarrow poet was just making a picture with words and someone else. Like maybe his teacher typed it up. And then people thought it was a poem because it looked like one typed up like that. And maybe that's the same thing that happened with Mr. Robert Frost. Maybe he was just making pictures with words about snowy woods and the pasture, and his teacher typed them up, and they look like poems. So people thought they were poems. Like how you did with the blue car things and reading the small poem thing on the board. Typed up, they look like poems. And the other kids are looking at them, and they think they really are poems. And they are all saying, who wrote that? January 24th. We were going for a drive, and my father said, We won't be gone long. You come too. And so I went, and we drove and drove until we stopped at a red brick building with a sign in blue letters, Animal Protection Shelter. And inside we walked down a long cement path, past cages with all kinds of dogs. Big dogs, small dogs, fat dogs, skinny dogs. Some of them hiding in the corner, but most of them barking, and jumping up against the wire cage as we walked past. Me, choose me. I'm the best one. And that's where we saw the yellow dog. Standing against the cage with his paws curled around the wire and his long red tongue hanging out and his big black eyes looking a little sad, and his long tail wagging as if he were saying, me, choose me. And we did. We chose him. And in the car, he put his head against my chest and wrapped his paws around my arm, as if he were saying, thank you. And the other dogs in the cage got killed, dead, if nobody chooses them. And maybe the title should be, You Come Too. February 7th. Yes, it looks good on the yellow paper, but you forgot, again, to leave more space between the lines like I did when I wrote it. That's okay, though. Jack sounds like he's getting a little picky. He's becoming a poet, maybe? All right, February 15th. I like that poem we read today about street music in the city. My street is not in the middle of the city, so it doesn't have that loud music of horns and trucks, clash, flash, screech. My street is on the edge of a city, and it has quiet music. Most of the time, wisp, meow, swish. My street is a thin one with houses on both sides, and my house is the white one with the red door. There is not too much traffic on my street, not like in the middle of a city. We play in the yards and sometimes in the street, but only if a grown-up or the big kids are out there too. And they will shout, car, if they see a car coming down our street. At both ends of our street are yellow signs that say, caution, children at play. But sometimes the cars pay no attention and speed down the road as if they are in a big hurry with many miles to go before they sleep. Before we go on to the next journal entry, let's look at that poem called Street Music. I think you'll like it. It's set up. Look at the way the lines are set up and the shapes of the words. And that is the way street music, this poem, Street Music, is supposed to look, just like that. So I think just looking at the words, it kind of reminds me of a crazy walking down the sidewalk of a big city and all the noises and everything, just looking at it. But now I'm going to read the words to you. And there's a picture of the poet. His name is Arnold Adolph. Let me read you Street Music. This city, the always noise grinding up from the subways, underground, slamming from bus tires and taxi horns and engines of cars and trucks in all vocabularies of clash, flash, screeching, hot metal, language combinations as planes overhead roar, an orchestra of rolling drums and battle blasts assaulting my ears with the always noise of the city. Street music. Wow, there was a lot of good sounds in there. Oh, but we really didn't hear the sounds. We just heard the word, right? But hopefully you could picture in your mind the city and at the same time kind of almost hear the sounds as the poet describes this city, which kind of has music because it all different kinds of sounds and talking. I love that poem. So Jack liked it too, if you remember. Okay. February 21st. This was so great. Those poems you showed us where the words make the shape of the thing that the poem is about. Like the one about an apple that was shaped like an apple. And the one about the house that was shaped like a house. My brain was pop, pop, popping when I was looking at those poems. I never knew a poet person could do that funny kind of thing. Interesting. Let's take a look at the apple poem. Wait till you see this. And it is a fun thing. Oh. There we go. Here's the apple poem. So you see, this poem is shaped like an apple. And then within the shape are all kinds of words describing an apple. So this one's called The Apple by S.C. Rigg. Let's see, we'll just read it right from the top. Right at the top is the word stem. And it looks like the stem, right? The stem of the apple. And then it says apple, 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 yum, apple, yum, apple, yum, apple, juicy, 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 crunchy, 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 red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green, red, apple, apple, apple. Well, I'm not going to read the whole poem, but you can see all the words in there. And in the middle, you see the word yum and delicious. And then really right smack in the middle, you see wormy worm, yuck, yuck, wormy worm, yuck, yuck. So that's pretty funny. And then it continues to talk again about the apple. So those are really fun poems. And Jack's like, oh man, can you really write a poem like that? That's pretty cool. So you think about that. Maybe you'll get to write a poem someday like that, where you pick an object, maybe something you really like, a sport like football, or maybe a car, some kind of an object, and then you draw the shape a little bit and write some words around it. That would be fun to see. February 21st. That was so great. Those poems you showed us, where the words make the shape of that thing, the poem that it's like about. Oops, I already read that. Sorry. Guess what? Jack tried one of those on February 26th. I tried one of those poems that looks like what it's about. I'll show it to you because I don't think I have it on the computer. But here's Jack's poem. It's better if I kind of get it in the middle here. Sorry. Here we go. Ready? Here it is. My Yellow Dog by Jack. And he has it as the shape of his dog. Remember his yellow dog that he got? And he didn't really want to talk about it. But you see, it says it has the nose, and it says sniff, sniff, and the mouth, it says